The offseason began, and the St. Louis Cardinals immediately set their sights on improving their starting rotation. And seemingly, before most teams in baseball have even made one move or free agent signing, the Cardinals have made three. All additions to their starting rotation. Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, and now Sonny Gray. Fantastic additions. I mean, Lance Lynn, that dude's shown that he's great. He's only about 30. Kyle Gibson, same thing. He's shown he can be real effective, and he's only about 30. And then you got Sonny Gray, who isn't even 30 yet, and he's got some nasty stuff. So three really good, dare I say, a couple of great additions to this Cardinals group of starters. That's how I look at it. Until I realized that it isn't 2018, and when you factor that in, that it's not in fact 2018, and we're actually almost in 2024, these additions to the Cardinals look a lot different, and not in the best way. Really quick, I'm trying to get to 140,000 subscribers before 2024, so if you enjoy the content or are new and haven't hit that button yet, consider doing so. Thank you. To start, I want to make sure I give the newest edition of these new additions, Sonny Gray, the love and respect that he deserves. Sonny Gray is a stud. He's nasty, has really been his entire career other than when the Yankees tried to change the way he throws his off-speed and screwed him up. He's overall been very consistent and is coming off of a fantastic season where he finished second in Cy Young voting. He's very overlooked. In fact, I made a video calling him the most underrated pitcher in baseball, and I truly do believe that. He's great, reliable to stay healthy, and take the mound every 5 days, and somewhat flies under the radar. So for the Cardinals to sign him to a 3-year contract is great. I love that for them, and I would have loved it for any team that signed Sonny Gray. The only quote-unquote issue with Gray is that he's 34 years old, and he is now the ace and number one arm of this Cardinals team. That's not necessarily the craziest or worst thing, but when you look at what's around Sonny Gray to support him in this rotation, that's where you see some real concerns. Lance Lynn is 36 years old and coming off a pretty atrocious season. Now overall, he's had a very solid career. 2023 does not represent everything, but you would be a fool to deny that Lynn's best years are likely behind him, and the last we even saw of him, he was giving up 4 home runs in 1 inning in the playoffs to follow up that bad regular season. Kyle Gibson is 35 years old and coming off one of the more bizarre seasons you'll ever see for a starting pitcher. His ERA was in the high 4s, so based off that alone, you wouldn't think he had a great year. He also gave up the most hits in the American League, another thing that implies he wasn't very good. But he also won 15 games, pitched almost 200 innings, and didn't miss a start. The 15 games he won is because he had the Orioles backing him up, which of course helps. But overall, those things are valuable. Him making every start and throwing almost 200 innings, and that's something the Cardinals are clearly valuing here. As bad as Lance Lynn was, he still made over 30 starts and threw about 180 innings. Gibson, like I just said, was also reliable to stay on the field. And then you have Sonny Gray, who was able to put it all together by being reliable and making starts, eating up innings, while also performing at a high level. So obviously it's good they signed him, and it's also not like they're expecting Lynn and Gibson to suck next year. I'm sure they have faith in plans that those two will be more effective, but they also really like how reliable they were at eating up innings. So the Cardinals rotation heading into 2024 now looks like this: Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, Miles Michaelis, another innings eater, and then Steven Matz. That group of 5, which again is assumed to be the starting rotation for the 2024 Cardinals, has an average age of 35. That's got to be the biggest concern here. Steven Matz is the youngest at 32, Lynn is the oldest at 36, and everyone else falls in between at either 34 or 35. And you know what's crazy? This is coming after Adam Wainwright just retired, who is 42 years old. So they just lost a 42-year-old, yet the average age of their starting rotation still went up. You simply cannot make this stuff up. This obviously isn't necessarily the sexiest way to build your rotation or any part of your team, to have them all be in their 30s as veterans, and it very well could be a disaster. But I could also see this working, and there's also some decent strategy here I just realized as I was writing this video. So the Cardinals are likely starting 2024 with their starting rotation having an average age of 35 years old. But that doesn't mean it has to stay that way the whole year, obviously. What the Cardinals could be doing, or at least one way to look at it, is to roll this rotation out to start the year, and by mid-season, if it's good enough, they can go out and add a younger frontline starter to help them out. St. Louis is coming off a terrible year, but they should be better next year, and this could be a way of being like, okay, we got Sonny Gray, he's good, really good. The rotation overall is older, should give us innings, and if this model holds us over and we're in contention next summer, we can add a younger ace to the squad. I can see that. You can't deny that this is a very outdated rotation. 5 years ago, it would have had a lot more promise, but in 2024, not quite as much. You almost can see this rotation's best case scenario just being good enough, but something that of course will also need to be backed up by a good bullpen and offense, two parts of the Cardinals that were not good in 2023. That's got to change now if you want to win more than ever now that you see the way this rotation is set up, at least to begin 2024. So again, not necessarily the most ideal starting rotation. It's very outdated and could backfire, but it could also work. Time will tell. Sonny Gray is a great pickup, but the other guys, whether it be the other new pickups like Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson, or the guys they already had like Steven Matz and Miles Michaelis, they need to perform better if this older rotation experiment is going to work, obviously. You can't just eat up innings but be terrible in the process. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.